you know how many texts come to that phone from you guys on a daily basis?
Probably all of them.
Quick story, you know why I got two phones? Because about 2 years ago, my mom, just before she moved back up here, my mom lived in Dallas, and she texted me and getting all the texts from all the students and all the stuff like that. And my mom called me and she was like, hey, I texted you 2 days ago and you never responded. I said, Mom, I got all these different texts. My mom said, and? I said, I'm gonna go separate that, Mom. So, you know, so that's kind of how it happened. Cause, you know, I'm really kind of the parent now. Don't tell her that, but I'm kind of the parent, you know, cause that's how it works. Is kids become the parents one day. So, but those of y'all who have, when y'all have kids, make sure you treat your kids right. One day, they might take care of you. Amen. Right. So out of my three, really the one I trust is Karen. I don't trust Jalen. Jalen had me like in a wheelchair in the bathtub. Like here, old man. Like I don't trust Jalen. I don't trust Jalen at all.
They just throw a rag at you.
Yeah, hey. What was that movie? Diary of a Mad Black Woman? They whipped the man, put him in the wheelchair, wheeled him in the shower, just turned the shower on and left him. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's Jalen.
That's Jalen. That's Jalen.
The rag can't even reach it.
That's Jalen. So you got it. Hey, what's up, good fella? All right, so here we go. So this is the last two pieces to your business plan. The first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the SWOT analysis. Okay. So the SWOT analysis that you guys will be doing, and SWOT is an acronym.
Thank you.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay? So now that you have everything for the most part, except the financial projection, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Now you have everything put together, so you have enough data to be able to come to some conclusions, right? And so what the SWOT analysis does is it allows you to analyze your business as well as gauging the viability of your business idea. So let's break it down. Strengths. So what you're looking at is, now that you have all this information, you have a marketing plan, you have an operation plan, you have an industry analysis. What are the clear strengths? What are the clear strengths of your business, right? An example. So I started doing the industry analysis. I was looking at the zip code of my business, and when I looked at the competition in my zip code, I found out that there's very little competition in my zip code. That's a strength. When I was doing the industry analysis, I found out that the disposable income, or the median family income in my zip code, it was $80,000, which allows me to charge a higher price than what I originally thought. That's a strength, right? When I started putting together my management team, I found that my management team had great experience, and that management team is a strength of my business, right? In other words, the strengths are what separates your business. From the other businesses. That's what the strength is, right? Weaknesses. Weaknesses are areas that cause concern for my business. On the other end of the spectrum, if Anaya said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna open up in zip code 64134, and she found that it was really saturated with other barbershops. That could be a weakness. If in my operation plan, I found in my operation plan that I was doing a centralized booking system, but I really hadn't planned for someone, I really hadn't planned to pay a front desk person. So now I gotta kind of navigate around how am I going to do this centralized booking system. That's a weakness from the operational standpoint. If I said that I want my shop to be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., but I don't have a clear plan of how that's going to work, who's going to open, who's going to close, that is a weakness in my business. In my industry analysis, if in my zip code, the median income was very low, that is a weakness in the business. It is, now a weakness doesn't mean that the plan is not going to work, but a weakness means that these are areas of concerns that I have to address and figure out so that I have a viable business idea, okay? Opportunities. Opportunities are, how do I scale my business? Scale means grow. How do I scale my business? So what opportunities do I have? An example of an opportunity is, in my marketing mix, I've talked about a potential partnership with XYZ business. That'll allow me to grow my business. That's an opportunity.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the S word?
Scale.
Scale.
Yep. Scale is an acronym or another word for grow, right? An opportunity. I've come on a great opportunity. I have 2 experienced barbers that I've identified to go in my shop, right? That's an opportunity, right? This is because I can scale my business. If I have 2 experienced barbers, then I can grow my business faster. What are the different opportunities that your business, that you have to grow your business? In my business idea, I am buying an existing, already established barbershop, right? That's an opportunity. You are evaluating your business plan, the industry analysis, the marketing plan, and figuring out in these plans that I've made, where are the opportunities to grow it, right? And then finally, the threats. The threats are, what barriers are there in growing my business? What are the barriers? what are the barriers to growth? Okay, so we start talking about like what are the barriers to growth? If I'm going in a location and there's already an existing barbershop that I know I'm competing against, that's a threat. If I am going in and I am doing a 10-chair shop, but I have 10 empty chairs and I don't have a source identified of where I'm going to fill those chairs, that's a threat. So if some of you're like, hey, I want to have 12 chairs in my shop. Okay, what relationships do you have to fill those chairs? And if you don't have a relationship to fill those chairs, then that's a threat. Because you're not just rolling out of bed and finding 12 people to fulfill those, right? Threat. I'm opening a commission shop, but I don't have any experience with commission. That's a threat because you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's for booth rent too. I'm opening up a booth rent shop. I have no experience. I have nobody on my team who has experience. That's a threat. So what you're doing is you're going through this, and in this SWOT analysis, you're writing strengths, and then you're listing the strengths, and then your weaknesses, and you're listing the weaknesses, so forth and so on, opportunities and threats. And what this does is it allows you to analyze the viability of the business. Meaning, if I list my strengths, and the only thing that I can list is I have one strength, right? I got one strength. But I have 12 weaknesses. I need to reevaluate my business idea, right? Because it's different if I have four or five strengths and I have 4 or 5 weaknesses, then it's more, okay, let me figure out how to minimize these weaknesses. But if these two outweigh each other, then I gotta reanalyze the viability of my business. If these two outweigh each other, I have to rethink what I'm doing. So what the SWOT analysis will tell you is, remember what I've said from day one. It's about facts. It's not about your opinion. So your opinion, you may say, hey, I think I have a really good business idea, right? But if the SWOT analysis says something different, then you've got to reevaluate. And this is a tool for you to help you before you begin to throw money at a business idea that may not be the best idea, right? And understand this with the SWOT analysis and really business planning as a whole. Take your feelings out of it. Take your feelings out of it. Feelings don't matter in business. Just telling you, feelings don't matter in business. Just because you spend time and you've thought about it and you think that you have a really good idea, if the data says differently, you can't have your feelings hurt and say, well, I put a lot of time and effort in this, so I'm gonna move forward anyway. You have to read what the data says. That's what the business plan is about, is gathering data to allow you to make a decision, right? For those of you who have good friends, family members that are part of your business plan, that makes analyzing the data more difficult, right? Because when you're analyzing the data, you have to take the feelings out of it and you have to take the feelings of the personal relationships out of it too, in order to make a business decision, right? As an example, with our business, Kenise knows that from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I am your business partner. I'm not your husband. I'm your business partner. So if you don't get it done, then that's a problem, and we'll address it like business partners. After 5, don't take it personal. Don't bring it home, because at the end of the day, all of you as business owners are the ones that are responsible for making sure that the business runs. And if you make decisions based on feelings, or based on feelings of family members or significant others or whatever, that's the fastest way to go out of business. It's just, and it may sound cold, but listen, you have to be comfortable saying no. And quite honestly, you have to be comfortable being an asshole. I'm just telling you, and that's what this SWOT analysis is. So fast forward, you guys are successful, your shops are open, it's wonderful. And then you have someone that comes to you and say, hey, I think you should do a second location. And you say, okay. And you go through, you do everything that we've done, and you do your SWOT analysis. And your SWOT analysis shows that you shouldn't do it, right? So now you gotta go back to your wife, you gotta go back to your significant other, and you gotta say, hey, listen, this is not the time. It's not a good idea. Will they be upset? Will they be disappointed? But you know what'll make them more upset and more disappointed? If you're $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in and it doesn't work. And so you have to be comfortable allowing the data to make those decisions for you, right? Each one of you, when you guys took the personality test, this is where your personality test comes into business, right? Because there are some of you that make decisions based on intuition, a gut feeling. Ain't no gut feeling with this, it's the facts, right? So who in here was an N? Who in here was an N on the personality test?
Which one was that?
That's one where you have a good gut feeling about something, and so you make a decision based on gut feeling. Man, don't make me go back and pull up some of your things. Some of you guys were N's, right? As compared to making decisions based on logic, right? Or an S, sensor, meaning I gotta touch it, I gotta smell it, I gotta hear it. You make decisions based with your senses. There were some of you that were N's. This is where if you're in, this is where it gets you in trouble. Because the data tells you one thing, but your gut feeling says another, right? Same thing there were a lot of you that were T's, and some of you were F's, meaning that you take other people's feelings into consideration when you're making decisions. That is difficult to do and a difficult balance when you're dealing with data and facts, right? So when you're doing this SWOT analysis, this is what we're looking for. That's what. And at the end of the paper, you don't have to tell me whether it's a good business idea, because the data will tell me that. The data will tell me if you have a viable business idea. So that's the first thing that you're going to do is a SWOT analysis. Okay. Now let's talk about the financial projections. Okay. So with the financial projections, I'll move this over here. SWOT analysis. All right. So with the financial projections are going to be broken into two parts, right? So you're going to have your build out costs. And then you're going to have your operation costs. Okay, so when you start this, the first thing that you have to do, and I told you guys last week about commercial LoopNet, so hopefully you guys got a chance to kind of jump on commercial LoopNet, look at some different buildings and stuff like that. So the first thing that you're going to do with your build out cost is you are going to identify a location, right? So you're gonna identify a proposed location. So then once you identify the proposed location, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at the proposed rent and the deposit. Always assume that the deposit is equal to 1 month's rent. So typically with commercial spaces, your deposit is equal to 1 month's rent. If you refuse to do a personal guarantee, then they may ask for 2 months rent or more up front. So let's talk about the personal guarantee. So the personal guarantee is, are you willing to have them run your credit and put your social security number, your personal credit on the line if the business fails? So, proposed rent and deposit. So you have so are you willing to do a personal guarantee? So now you guys can start to see how when we started in the beginning, we started talking about credit, how all of this all ties in. Because we talked about the 3 C's of credit, which was what? Say it louder.
Cash, credit, collateral.
The 3 C's, cash, credit, collateral. So if you start a business, you're looking at your cost. So, all right, I'm looking at this space. Do I have the cash? Do I have the credit? Or do I have collateral? Right? So I'm using a mix on my proposed rent because I gotta have liquidity or cash to be able to put down the first month's rent, but then I'm gonna use my credit, which is a personal guarantee, to keep my initial costs down so I don't have to put first and last month's rent, I have to put 3 months down, right? So, does everybody remember how to calculate proposed rent, or do we need to go over it again? Yeah, the square footage and all that stuff.
Square footage plus the triple net.
Oh, yes,
And then you have to divide
Okay.
it.
Do we need to go over it again, or everybody got it? We good? If somebody doesn't have it, please say I don't have it.
I don't got it. I don't have it.
Okay, fair. Let's do it. All right. So we have a space that is, let's say, 1,200 square feet. Okay. The rent cost is $12 a square foot. And the triple net is $7 square foot, that's your triple net. Okay, so the way that we will do it is we will add these two together. So $12 a square foot plus $7 your triple net, that's $19 a square foot. Then I'm gonna multiply that by the total square footage, which equals what? Got to plus calculators unless y'all great with math like that.
22,800.
What is it?
22,800.
22,800? So 22,800.
Divided by 12.
Hold on one second. So $22,800. That is the annual rent. That's the annual rent. Now to get my monthly rent, I'm gonna take the 22,800 and I'm gonna divide it by 12,
1,900.
which equals $1,900. And that is my monthly rent. That's how you do it. Got it? This is super, super important that everybody knows how to calculate this. So if I need to do another one, then I will. So, does anybody need another one? No, hey, listen, this is your business, so it's no right or wrong. Don't, if you say, hey, man, I need another one, then I'll do another one. I'll do two more. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Okay. This one is 3,000 square feet. I want you guys to do this one on your own and nobody blurt out the answer. Just do this one on your own. 3,000 square feet, it is $14 a square foot.
They can give that to you.
And it is $6.50 is the triple net. Figure it out. Don't blurt the answer out. Just figure it out. Work it out on your own.
So you get on the website tells you that in this given area, that $14 a square foot is roughly the right numbers that you should be paying for this area, correct?
Not necessarily.
Where do you get, because I know you get the square footage from how big the building is, but how do you get the $14 a square foot?
Because that's what the asking price is from the leasing, from the property management company. That's what, it's all negotiable, but that's what the asking price is. So
So you take $1,000, say, it's.
Hold on, don't confuse anybody, Rick. Let them go through this. Let them go through this. Have you done this? Have you calculated it?
This one, this how much?
Yeah. Okay, so calculate, what is that? Okay, just start over, go through it again.
Okay.
Didn't say a number.
I already had a dollar sign up, my bad.
No, I was talking to Cole, he didn't put a dollar sign.
There you go.
Yeah, he's just talking
Like his was wrong.
Bro, I was gonna have 5 minutes.
Do it again. Plus.
No. She looking for it.
Nope, you gotta put the decimal, $6.50. Plus.
Okay.
There you go. Now, and then you can multiply that times square footage. 3,000. That's the annual, right? You're gonna, how many months in a year? You're gonna divide that by 12. Nope, divide.
So, 60, it was like 60.
Now you gotta start over.
I got you though.
But I might have did it wrong because I found it confusing.
Let me see this, right?
5,125.
Put you.
I literally just asked him, why is it not blurting out Liam like you? I already have an answer. Just see if it was correct.
So, yep. 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 What you mean?
Did you put a dollar sign there? I didn't either. That's wrong. I have to erase mine. You put a dollar sign per month.
Okay, this is what you came up with.
Correct. Truthfully.
Hey, hey.
What's that?
You, wait.
Should be 50.
Dude, I'm pretty sure.
I just, my idea.
That's what you.
That was
Yes,
the
let's
last
put it on the
one.
board. See, 3,000.
No, that was the last one I did. I was just counting.
Right, right. Now divided by 6.
That's a great
Plus.
There you go.
What?
What you come up with? Yep.
So we're
Yep.
$14 per square.
Yup.
I mean, it really
What you come up with?
wasn't, but at first I was like, okay.
you have to times it by,
Yep. 51.
3,000.
Yep.
and then
What you come up with, Sal?
So you got the same thing.
you take that and divide it by 12.
Okay.
I think it's just that way.
So you divide that by 12?
Yep.
Yeah.
Divided by 12.
Right, it's okay.
5,125.
Yep. $6.50.
Please, put your back first.
So add those together.
Commercial internet is what I have.
This is
Commercial.
$14 per square feet.
I'm not taking it.
Are we even tall enough to even go?
Yep.
Did we take a note on it?
Taxes.
Yep.
Taxes, common area maintenance.
It's
taxes.
Would that be
Yep,
in here?
yep, exactly.
Then there's 12 months in May.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody came up with 5,125. That's what the monthly rent is?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do
Wait.
one more.
Gee. So I'm on LoopNet, right? And that's where you get the information.
Mhm. Correct.
LoopNet?
Okay, there you go. Figure it out. Don't blurt it out.
Jump for a second. So. And.
You have to click on it.
No, yeah.
Oh, you probably won't well, if it's yours, then it's not gonna be listed.
Right, I'm trying to figure out how much, you know, because a lot of properties ain't gonna be on this, you know?
I mean, if the properties that are gonna be on that, that's just no different from, if you're looking for a house, it's gonna be like realtor.com, yeah, it's the same thing. So,
You're not gonna list sold places.
right,
No, I'm saying that my place that I just got.
it's not
was
gonna,
never even-
If it's, those are listed by agents, so if it wasn't, so it's no, like, it's not law that people have to like list things on there.
Right.
Right?
But what I'm saying is, do I go with a guesstimate of the close of, like, these are all in this location, and they're like 13 a square foot,
Yeah, you just have to go with,
roughly.
yep, you just have to go with a guesstimate, basically. Yeah. Got it?
Right, see, you can repeat, so like you take this number and you divide it, right? Divided by what?
How many months in a year?
Oh, 12, that's right.
About 14.
About-
Got it? I know you good with numbers, I know you got it.
Probably not letters.
Yup.
Man, Dr. Council pay.
Now, where do you
Yup.
get
Alright, good deal. Hey, look, everybody got it, that's good stuff. So, that's super important, because now, when you guys are looking, you guys know how to calculate the square footage for your rent. Now, everything,
I don't know how to get the triple net.
you're not, because the triple net is set by the property management company. So again, remember, the triple net cost is what's called your CAM. CAM stands for what?
Common area maintenance.
Common area maintenance. So, the triple net consists of taxes, insurance, and CAM for the entire strip mall, right? So, the triple net is non-negotiable. You cannot negotiate a triple net. Again, it is taxes, insurance, and CAM, common area maintenance. So,
Some may not have that, triple net, some may have it in their lease.
if you are in a property that is in a strip plaza, then you're gonna have CAM, and you're gonna have a triple net, right? If you have something like a standalone building, that would be considered a destination location not attached to other businesses, then you may not have triple net because there's nobody to share it with, right? That's on you. That's on you. So like our first property, it was a converted ranch house that we had our first shop in. There was no CAM. But when it snowed, there was nobody to come and shovel the parking lot, right? So taxes, the landlord has to pay property taxes on this entire strip mall. So the landlord then takes those taxes and divides them among all the businesses in the strip mall. The landlord has to have insurance. So like, let's say if a tornado came and tore the strip mall up, then that wouldn't be, your insurance would cover everything on the inside. The landlord's insurance covers everything on the outside. So the landlord then passes that cost on, that's divided among tenants. Common area maintenance, we talked about this last week. 2 years ago, the landlord did $500,000 in landscaping, and he said, guess what, guys, it looks great. Now I'm gonna divide it amongst all of you guys, and you're going to pay for it. However, your taxes and your insurance are based on the square footage of your space, meaning that we don't pay the same amount of taxes and insurance that Planet Fitness does. Planet Fitness is 13,000 square feet, probably more than that. This is 6,000 square feet, right? So we don't pay as much, it's based on your square footage amount, right? So The triple net is non-negotiable. The square footage amount is negotiable, right? So you can negotiate the square footage amount. And typically, in commercial leases, you're in a commercial lease, it's gonna be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years.
Why don't they just put it all in as the rent is this amount and that includes the taxes, insurance, everything, just that,
What do you mean?
like,
Why is it not just one
what, yeah, like
It
per
is one.
square footage, you say,
It is one number.
Okay, I'm thinking for some reason you have to pay two separate payments, one to, okay.
That's
okay.
one, it's one number. It's one number,
That's why we're taking those three numbers and turning it into one number.
right? It's one number. So this is how it works. Commercial leases generally run 3 to 5 years. The way that it works is this, is typically the landlord or the property management company, when you are starting off on build out costs, they will give you 1 free month for every year that you agree to sign on the lease. So if you sign a 5-year lease, they'll give you 5 free months. You sign a 3-year lease, then they'll give you 3 free months, right? And the reason for that is obviously, if you sign a 3-year lease, then from a commercial standpoint, that's a really short amount of time as far as establishing a business, getting the business up and running. And so they're hedging their bet, saying, hey, listen, you're signing a 3-year lease. We only have guaranteed rent in this space for 3 years, so we're not going to give you 6 free months when you're only going to be here 3 years, right? But now if you're willing to do 5 years, 5 years is typically the standard, right? There'll be some people that will try to rope you into a 10-year lease, and they'll try to rope you into a longer lease term with lower square footage rental amounts up front. So like, let's say that you were willing to sign a 10-year lease. Well, they might take 19 and say, hey, listen, we're willing to do $13 for the first 2 years. And then after that, then we'll go to 15, then after that, we'll go to 17. And then the last 3 years, then we want to be at, instead of 19, we want to be at 21. So it averages out, something like that. That is 100% negotiable. I would counsel all of you to never go past 5 years, right? Five years, it's, and the reason that you don't want to do 3, and I'm gonna explain this to you, so make sure everybody understands this, is that once you sign the lease, right? And let's say you're good with this $19 a square foot. Once you sign this lease, you are locked into that amount for 5 years, right? This is why it's important. When we started over there, remember, Harbor Freight, Planet Fitness, none of that was here. So when we came in, we got in at about $11 per square foot when we first came in, right? And our triple net was about $3. So we got in at like $14 a square foot. Now that Planet Fitness and Harbor Freight are here, the square footage for these new spaces are going about $16, $17 a square foot, and the triple net now is about $6 a square foot, right? So when we signed this lease in 2020, they weren't there yet, right? So keeps our costs down, because, loaded question, think about this. Why was our cost down? Because it was what kind of location? It's a secondary location, right? It was a secondary location, and a secondary location means what?
Bigger space?
Nope, what is the definition of a secondary location?
There is not a main attraction yet.
Right, there's no anchor tenant. There's no anchor tenant, so it was a secondary location, meaning that we were just a bunch of small businesses just trying to drive traffic and help each other out. But there was no anchor tenant that was driving traffic here, so we got in a lot cheaper because there was no anchor tenant. That's the purpose of signing a 5-year lease. Because if you sign a 3-year lease, then at the end of that 3-year lease, then everything is renegotiable. So if you came in at $12 a square foot and then you signed for 3 years, at the end of 3 years, oh, well, Harbor Freight's here now, Planet Fitness is here now. So now instead of doing $11 a square foot, now it's gonna be $15 a square foot. Up goes your rent, right? So, like, we here at the school, we're reaching that point where next year, next February, we have to renegotiate our lease because our 5 years is up, right? And so we're already like, what's that gonna look like? Because we've been locked in to this lease, and when we were over there 2 years before we came over here, so our lease kind of grandfathered in, right? So you really want to plan for 5, especially if you are going into a secondary location. Now think about this for a second. What has happened over the past year and a half with our economy?
Shit.
Decrease.
Inflation, right? Everything's expensive. So guess what? So those costs are always passed down to business owners, right? So everything's more expensive, so square footage amounts are going to be more expensive, right? So if you're going into a commercial lease right now, then what you want is what? Flexibility a little bit, because I'm hoping that inflation drops. So if I was negotiating right now, then I would try to negotiate as low as I could on the base salary, on the base square footage, hoping that 5 years from now, that the market levels out so that when it's time for me to renegotiate, my price is not jacked up through the roof. That makes sense? Okay. So you got your square footage. So this is how you figure out your proposed rent. So in this particular case, when we did this one, it was what, 40, what was it?
4583.
So this was like 4583, right? Okay. So 4583, that's my proposed rent. So I have to put 1 month up front, and I have to do a 1 month deposit. So I take this 4583, multiply it times 2. That's what you gotta come up with up front for your rent. That's so when you're doing your projection, that's your rent, and that's your upfront money, your rent and deposit.
9166.
9166, is that what it is?
Okay.
For real. That's gonna go too. So just get it open. But alone, you need about like 25 to 30, to be honest, because 10 to open it, 10 because then your supply.
Well, hold on, I ain't got to that part yet.
Okay,
That's why I'm coming to, right? So that's the first part. Okay, this is what it's going to take for me to acquire the building. That's the money that it takes. Now, my second is what we call T&I. T&I stands for tenant improvements. Okay, tenant improvements. So, what tenant improvements are is, okay, so I have this open space. Now I gotta turn it into a barbershop. So what do I need to turn it into a barbershop? Let's see, I know I'm gonna need some outlets. I know I'm gonna need plumbing. These are part of the tenant improvements, right? Now, let's talk about tenant improvements. 2 ways to accomplish tenant improvements. Either A, free rent, or B, tenant allowance. Okay?
When you mean allowance, or you mean like what?
Meaning that, so what like a tenant allowance is if they say, hey, listen, we're going to give you $10,000 in tenant allowance. So you're not coming out of your pocket for build out. We're going to give you $10,000-$15,000. You negotiate that. No. Nope. We're gonna give you $10,000-$15,000 for your tenant allowance. But here's the thing with tenant allowance, so everybody understands this. If you do tenant allowance, there's no free rent. Meaning that you pay from the day you sign the lease, you pay the rent. Right? So you don't get both. You don't get, okay, I'm doing a 5-year lease. And typically, to be honest with you, on any 5-year lease I've always negotiated 6 months of free rent. I mean, and what I tell them is like, listen, man, hey, I'm committing to you for 60 months. I'm committing to you for 5 years. Give me 6 months to do my build out and to get my business up and running. And if they're not willing to give me 6 months, then I'll move on. Right? I'm guaranteeing you 5 years of rent. So give me 6 months. When we were over here in our first space, we did a 5-year lease. We got 8 months of free rent. Right? Just said how bad they want to lease it to you. Before we did Classic Guy, the barbershop, I was in negotiation with another spot over by Longview, and we actually over there we were going to do a 7-year lease, and he wanted to give me 3 months of free rent. We'll move on. Not interested, because those are the critical parts. But when it comes to tenant allowance, those of you that are interested in that, you have to understand there are 2 types of tenant allowance. There is one type where they will say, hey, listen, you go ahead and pay for everything, and then when you're done, give me the receipts, and then I will reimburse you within 14 business days. Right? Then there's another type of tenant allowance that they will say, hey, listen, we're going to use our contractors. We will pay for it. We will pay up until $10,000. Anything after that, you're on your own. So there's different types of tenant allowance. It just depends on what you're doing. For instance, the space over in Longview, when I was negotiating that, they were willing to give us $100,000 in tenant allowance, right? Exactly. So what their first offer was to me is like, hey, we want you to do a 12-year lease, and we'll do $100,000 of tenant allowance. We will give you 70,000 of it, and we will allow you to borrow from us at like 2% interest the other 30,000. Right? So with your
I'm like, you didn't even need 30.
well, like in this particular place, what we were attempting to do is it was going to be built out on 2 levels because the top level was going to be like a lounge, like a real lounge, live music, all that stuff like that, and then the lower level was going to be a barbershop. And so, and this in this space, it was, and understand this too. When you're looking at spaces, it makes a difference in your build out on whether it is like an existing structure with like walls in it, or if it is just what they call a shell or a box. So a shell or a box, the build out is more expensive than if there's an existing structure, right? Because if it's a shell or a box, that means that there's really no plumbing that's already ran, right? That means there's no electricity that's already ran. So your plumbing and your electrical are the biggest cost that you have in build out. So when you're looking at a space, and I'll say this again, you guys know where the shampoo bowls are in this space. The shampoo bowls are there not because I thought that was a great place for shampoo bowls. The shampoo bowls are there is because there's water that runs along that wall, and it was gonna be another $15,000 to drill in the floor to put plumbing on the other side of the wall where I really wanted the bowls at. So I said, you know what, this wall is amazing, let's do it. Right? This is what,
This wall is amazing.
this wall looks amazing. They can't, I said, this is what happens, right? Is you come in and you look at stuff and you're like, man, I like the shampoo bowls to go over here. And they're looking around. It's like, yeah, there's no, it's like, well, you have the washer and dryer, but the washer and dryer, that water line stops here. Now we could run the water line up above. Well, what if the water line bursts? Then now I got water in my ceiling. I don't want that. So, okay, well, man, we can jackhammer through the floor. We can do all that. We put it over there, man. It'd be, we could put it on this wall right here. We get it on this wall right here. It'd be $2,000. We put it on that wall over there. It'll be $18,000. Man, this wall right here, yeah, solid. Let's do it. Right? Those are decisions that you make. So, your build out. Every station has to have its own outlet, its own circuit. Why is that important? It is because, well, that too, but you think about it. If you have 3 chairs trying to run off the same outlet, the same circuit, and you guys are just running extension cords and surge protectors and all that stuff like that, then the minute somebody turns on a hair dryer, so yeah, but now everybody can't work, because now you got 3 people that can't work because their fuse is blown. So that's why each chair has to have its own circuit. In here, every outlet is on its own circuit, right? That's important in the build out. It costs more, but it's necessary. Yep, it's necessary. If you're going to Kansas, if you're looking at a location in Kansas, you have to include in your build out that every single station has to have a sink or a bowl behind it. Every single one. So your plumbing cost is going to be higher. Texas too. Your plumbing cost is going to be higher.
Same for Texas.
Huh?
You said that's the same for Texas.
That's the same for Texas. One is 1-to-1. One shampoo bowl or one sink
Is that same for
per chair. Huh?
Is that same for salons too?
In Missouri, it's the same thing. It's 3-to-1.
No, just saying in Kansas.
Oh, in Kansas, I don't know because the boards are separate. So I haven't looked at, but I'm almost positive if they're doing it for barbers, I'm almost positive they're going to do it for Cosmos too. Because water is more important to Cosmos than it is to barbers because of the chemicals, right?
So every station in Kansas has to have a wash station and a place to wash your hands.
No, I mean, it just has to have a shampoo bowl or a sink. Every station has to have one. 1-to-1. Where in Missouri it's 3 stations for every one shampoo bowl.
And it doesn't matter in Missouri where you put the wash station. But in
You see,
Kansas,
man, I mean, you got 6 of them. I mean, think about it for a second. How many times do you guys see like more than 2 of those in use at once? Never, right? Never. But it is what it is, right? So you got your build out cost. Your build out cost should include everything from plumbing, electrical, your carpentry work, meaning if you're tearing down walls, putting up walls, all of those things are included in your cost. So you gotta factor those in, okay? Also, on your build out costs, you need to include your licensing costs. Every city has a licensing cost. Different cities have different licensing costs, right? Kansas City is different from Lee Summit. Lee Summit is different from Belton or Grandview or whatever. So you gotta, how much does it cost to get a business license in Kansas City? You gotta figure that out. Insurance costs. Gotta figure your insurance costs out. I would say for everybody, that your insurance costs generally, and I'll give you this one, your insurance costs generally will run, I would say a good number is probably about $100 a month for your insurance costs. And that insures everything inside the building, right? That's theft, that's fire, all of that, that's your insurance costs. So, those are your build out costs to get started, okay? Other thing. Equipment. So, when you talk about equipment, I am talking about everything that's going in your shop. How many chairs you buying? How many shampoo bowls you're buying? Waiting chairs, TVs. If you have a front desk, you gotta factor in how much does it cost for the front desk. This is all the equipment that is going in your shop. Are you gonna have mats behind the chairs? What kind of mats are you gonna have behind the chairs? All of those costs. Mirrors.
Nape holders,
What?
the little nape holders, that hold,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
All that. Yep, mirrors, right? Mirrors are expensive. There are some people that they just get the big long pieces of glass and they put those up. Other people put mirrors. Some people put long pieces of glass and they put like woodwork around them and create the frame, stuff like that, right? Stations. What's the cost of your stations, right? All of this goes under equipment. Ring lights.
What's the cost of the station? What you mean by that?
Like the toolbox.
Like here, like we use the tool chest, right? So so like 8 years ago when we bought those tool chests ran like $170. Oh, they have, but I negotiated with Home Depot in bulk, and I said, listen, man, I'm buying, like, at that time, I think we started with 10 chairs. At that time, hey, I'm buying 10 of them. So what can you do in bulk, right? Negotiate those things. Same thing with when we bought the first barber chairs. Went to Sally's business department. Say, listen, I'm buying in bulk. I'm buying 10 chairs. At that time, I think the chairs were like, I don't know, $500. Like, listen, I'm buying 10 chairs. You guys have a bulk price? So you negotiate those things. But it's everything that's in your shop, it has a price. You want 365-inch TVs? Put it on the equipment. What's that cost? Do you have a computer at your front desk? You got a MacBook? That costs. Everything costs, right? You got a towel warmer? Got 2 towel warmers? All of the equipment. So you can't tell me that you're doing steam treatments and you don't have a steamer on your equipment cost. Can't do it without it. Right? You can't tell me that you're offering facial services and you ain't no facial services on your equipment. All those costs. Now you're doing braids and fades. You gotta know what the cost is. Rick said that he's doing hot lather shaves. Okay, how much does a lather machine cost? All of those things cost. It's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money. Huh?
It's a lot of extra to invest in, especially the more you feel like you're gonna add on to your business.
Hey, so let me tell you guys something in advance right now that might help you out. So here's the thing. Start simple. Start simple. So I want to tell you guys, like when I started, the very first shop that I worked in, I called the owner. I said, "Hey, you got any old chairs you're replacing?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I got 2." I said, "Man," I said, "I'll buy them from you." Then Kenise and I reupholstered the chairs, right? My very first station that I had, it was a station that we got off of at that time I was like Craigslist, and then we refinished the station, right? So there are different things that you guys can do. The first new pieces of equipment that I ever bought in my barbering career was when we opened the school up and we bought this stuff. So we literally opened the shop up, all of Kanisa's stuff, her chair, her station. We went to the thrift store and got a desk. And you know, cause Kanisa's little mini Bob Vila. And she went and I don't know what she did to this desk, but she did her thing to it. And it didn't look like the desk that we got from the thrift store when she was done with it, but that was her first station. It was a desk, right? We went to TJ Maxx and got mirrors from TJ Maxx, right? So, and we went to the tractor farm and tractor store and bought and had them cut, like they had the long pieces of rubber, and we had them cut like the rubber mats. That's how we got started, right? So I say this to you guys to say, like, you can be very simple when you start. I had one TV, and you should have saw the shampoo I had, bowl. Liam, I had a shampoo bowl that looked like it was 1970. It took like 4 of us to carry it in. It was like, I mean, that sucker was like concrete. And we carried it in, and Kanisa's dad somehow got that thing mounted to the wall. Matter of fact, I'll tell you how he got it mounted to the wall. Mounted to the wall, we took a 2x4 and planted the 2x4 underneath it, and then we took like a little dressing thing and put it around so nobody could see the 2x4 underneath holding it up. I'm telling you. That's how I got started. That's how I got started. It's 350 square feet. Kenise had 450 square feet. And the revenue, the money, how we got started, we had 2 cash cards that were paid off. And I went out to title loans out on each one of them. Title loans for $1,000 on each one. I had $2,000 to start. And that's how we started. That's how the whole thing started. So don't feel like you gotta spend $20,000, $30,000. And for the build out, it was Kanisa's dad, her brother, and D, who still does maintenance for us now. It was those 3, and that's how we got started, right? So on your equipment, you just gotta line out what you want, and the beautiful thing about what you guys are doing is that it's very simple to start off if you allow it, if you let it be simple, right? You don't need 4 TVs. You don't need a 65-inch TV. You don't need 9 chairs. You don't need all that. Start off small. Allow your business to grow organically. Like I said, we started off with 5 barber students. We had 10 chairs. And you allow it to grow, right? Which leads me into your operation costs. Your operation costs. So your operation costs is your revenue minus expenses. Okay, now this is where the rubber meets the road. How much money am I making? If I'm a booth rent shop and I got 5 chairs and never assume 100% occupancy, because it rarely ever happens. So don't give me a revenue report that says, hey, I got 5 chairs, booth rent is $200 a week, so I got $1,000 a week. Because it's very rare that all 5 of those chairs will be full. You should always assume occupancy is about 80%. So if you got 5 chairs, that means that you should assume 4 of them are full. Now here's the thing. This is the thing that's important. If you have 5 chairs, so Sauce, you got 5 chairs. If you're occupying one of those chairs, you don't have 5 chairs, you have 4. Right? So don't give me a revenue report saying I'm collecting booth rent from 5 chairs, because then I'm gonna ask you, oh, so you have 6 chairs in your space? Now I got 5. But you're occupying one, so you're not getting no booth rent from that chair.
But what if they don't plan on working in that shop? At the
Well, then you
time
got-
of the business plan that they apply, what if they don't plan on like working in the shop at that time, what if they plan on running?
Hey, if you don't plan on working in it, then, and it's a 5-chair shop, then you got 5 chairs. But I'm definitely gonna go back to your operations plan, because I wanna know who's running it. Right? I wanna know who's running it. If you're not there, who's the zookeeper? Right? Who's the zookeeper? Who's in charge of the animals? Right?
So that's what it turned into when you.
Trust me, I know. I know. Right? Right? So always assume, and think about it. If you have 5 chairs and you're occupying one of them, then that means that if you got 4 chairs, and I assume that I'm not gonna have 100% occupancy in 4 chairs, then that means that now I got 3 chairs that are running, right? And so that's how you have to do your math. What is my revenue? So your revenue can come from the booth rent or commission. You have product sales. And the other revenue is specific to your shop. So there are some shops that where they may rent the shop out in off hours as an event space, right? So you get revenue from there. You may say, hey, I'm gonna host some classes. You get revenue from there. So, but basically what you're doing is you're creating a line item list of all the different ways that you're going to have revenue, right? And then you're going to take that, and then you're going to do a line item of your expenses. So I got rent. These are monthly expenses. I got utilities. I got my insurance, et cetera, right? Things that you're paying each month. That's the expenses. And so on your operation costs, right? You are going to do operation costs at 6 months, and then you're going to project what the first year looks like. So when you do this revenue, when you do your revenue projections, or your financial projections rather, you're gonna have one that's gonna say, these are my build out costs. And so when you get through all this, you may say, hey, listen, based on what I'm showing, it's going to, and for those, I'm gonna make it easy for you, for your plumbing and your electrical, typically, you will take whatever your rent cost is. So you're gonna do the exercise with the square footage, all that stuff like that. You're gonna take your rent cost, right? And your plumbing and your electrical costs generally will be about 10% of your annual rent costs. Typically, 10% of your annual rent costs.
What do you mean by that?
So, like, when you do the square footage cost and all that stuff like that, and you guys came up with something that was like
Ballpark of what it's
six,
gonna cost.
and it was like $60,000 was the annual rent. Then you take 10% of that, and that typically will be your plumbing and your contractor costs.
And that's
So
how
about
much it's gonna
6,000.
be, or you said like.
That's a ballpark figure. Say it again.
You said that's a ballpark figure.
It's a ballpark figure. So about 10% of your annual rent costs, you can project for your contractor costs, your plumbing, electrician, all that stuff like that. Okay, about 10% of the annual rent costs. That's what happens when money leaves your pocket?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Commercial.
That's what happens when I try to get tea. You better be collecting
Yeah, but you gotta
everybody's
go
money
license
for my
what I'm
lunch.
doing.
You remember that bet you made?
I didn't make you no bet.
Yes, you did.
Girl, stop.
Yeah.
So, anyway, and then on the operational costs, right? So let's talk real quick about, like, okay, how do I do a 6-month projection? How do I do a year projection on my costs? Okay, so you come up with your first month's cost, right? So I do all this, I come up with my first month revenue, I come up with my first month's expenses, right? So the expenses should stay the same. That's what you call flat. So the expenses are flat, right? So then what you're looking for in your revenue streams is, now if you're in a booth rent shop, right? Then your booth rent will stay flat as well. But your other streams of revenue, right? Your product sales will, over the first 6 months, you can project those to increase 10, 15%. Your whatever if you're renting out as an event space or whatever you're doing, you can expect those to increase. Why will they increase? As the word gets out, right? Then you should expect increase. So then you're projecting, okay, this is month 1 what it looks like. Now, if you have a commission shop, then as the traffic builds, then you're going to make more money, right? So you can project probably about a 10 to 12% increase in commission. And so what you're doing is you're looking at, okay, my booth rent is flat, but my product sales increased. I had other streams of revenue that increased. So this is what it looks like at 6 months. And then this is what it looked like at a year. So there might be some of you that you might be like, hey, listen, booth rent, I don't really have any product sales. So my month 1 is going to look like my month 6. But where I will challenge you is, if you tell me that your month 1 looks like month 6, and say like Rose says, hey, I'm gonna have 7 chairs in my shop, and so my month 1 looks like month 6, then I'm gonna email her back and say, oh, so on month 1 you're gonna have all 6 of those chairs filled? Of course not, right? So you may say, hey, listen, at 6 months, if I got 7 chairs, I'm projecting that I'm gonna have 3 of them filled. At year 1, I'm projecting that I'll have the other 3 filled, so now I have 6 filled, right? So that's where people get in trouble, y'all. People get in trouble because, again, everybody wants this. People bend the numbers to make the numbers work for them. Like, if you say, hey, listen, man, I got a 5-chair shop, and I'm basing my revenue projections off, and I'm not working in the shop, I just own it, and I'm gonna have all 5 of these chairs filled. Month 1 you are? Wait, huh?
I got people that's already hitting me up to start working in my places. Now,
Let me know
some
how that
of
works
them
for
I
you.
don't want.
Let me know how that works for you, right? Because you know what? Because here's the thing. People who are really good in this industry, why they leave where they at?
There was a school teacher, one of them just retired, all different kinds of crap, but.
So the hardest thing that you will do in this business, and I hope it was in your operation plan, or I hope that you're going to put in your operation plan, is that you gotta know where you're going to get people from, right? What's the retention plan to keep good people, right? And so I promise you that what you think you have, you don't have, right? We went in the Classic Guy, it's 6 chairs. We opened up last June. And this is what's important too, for everybody to understand, is that there's a balance, right? So like, let's say for instance, like we opened up Classic Guy, 6 chairs. Let's say that we got 6 people that wanna go in right now. If I got 6 people in there, but I don't have business for 6 people, how long am I gonna have 6 people? Right? Because again, I ask you guys this all the time. How long can you go without hitting your number? How long can you go without making a certain amount of money? So you have to be strategic a little bit, right? So like a Classic Guy, it was like, hey, listen, what we really wanna do in the first year is, man, we just wanna try to get 4 of them filled up, right? And we wanna try to have business for 4 barbers. And then, once we get through year 1, as we go into year 2, then if we could fill those 5th and 6th ones, that would be amazing. But if we could just get 5 of them filled and have enough business to retain 5 of those barbers, and they're happy and they're making money, then down the line we can figure out the 6th one. So you guys that are just starting off and you open up your business, and you got like how many chairs in your shop?
6.
So my 6 chairs in his shop, you have to balance that. Like, it's great to look at the numbers and say, man, I got 6 chairs with this amount of booth rent, but it's unrealistic if you don't have a way to create business for those barbers, right? So that's why your projection should look different, because your projection should be like, hey, okay, in 6 months, if I got a 6-chair shop, maybe I'll based on 3 chairs, right? This is what I'm looking like. Now year 1, I got 5 of them filled, and this is what it looks like. That's why the projection should be different. That makes sense for everybody? You guys follow me on that? Are you good over there? You good?
I gotta get my stretch home, man.
That test wearing you out, man.
Where do you get your workers from?
Here.
Typical.
So, sort of here, but really, to be honest with you, we really look more toward our crossover classes for people to work in those shops, because a lot of them, they are already experienced people who like for instance, if somebody's working at like Great Clips, right? And they're a cosmetologist, and they're coming here to get their barber's license so that they can begin like straight razoring people or whatever. Typically, when they're doing that, that means that they're leaving Great Clips because they want more of a traditional barbershop environment, but they already have clientele, so it's a good fit for us going into that shop, going into our shop. And so we try to balance it, like the students who graduate from here, and we offer them a spot in the shop. I mean, like at that point in time, remember, like I told you guys, like you gotta go with the data, and it's not about feelings being involved. But like every shop, we only want the best and the brightest, right? You know, and so we have a little bit of a built-in advantage because if you were like a dick in barber school, then probably. Then I know that you were a dick, whereas another shop owner doesn't know that. So, I mean, I never lied to shop owners, but I'm not gonna make it personal. I'm not gonna say like, cause there are some students who show up every day, they do what they're supposed to do, and they're just dicks, right? And so, it's like, so to the shop owner, I'm gonna tell them like, hey, they show up every day, they do good haircuts, and then, but that's for the shop owner, cause their personality and the shop owner's personality, it may mesh and it may be great. And maybe they're just a dick in barber school, but then they get there, but obviously, if you were a jerk here, then probably not gonna look to hire you at my shop, right?
So what I did was, I went to these crappy barber shops, and I just told them, I said, I'm looking to start a place, how do you like this salon equipment that you're using? And they said, we don't like this salon equipment, we wish we had more storage or this and that. I said, okay, I just wanted to get some information. I'm building a thing across the door. Next thing you know, I did this to a couple different places. Now all these damn barbers are hitting me up because they want to.
So I will say this to you, and
but I didn't ask them for a job or anything.
So I will say this, and